Hi, my name is Vicky, and when I study for math, for example, I have to be really interactive with what I do. I have to explain, I have to talk to myself, and I have to write it down so that I can see the entire process before I can actually retain information.
Hi, my name is Julie, and my tip is to motivate yourself while you're doing your homework. The best way to do this is to reward yourself after you've completed your assignment, or just think about the rewards you're going to get while you're doing your homework. Like, say for example, you want to watch a TV show or play a video game or go on your cell phone, once you have homework to do. Just make that your reward while you're doing your homework, and it'll just go by easy.
Alright, so if you don't need the computer, just turn it off.
Hi, my name is Mary. I think it's important to learn how you learn and see if you learn better by seeing things or hearing things or writing them.
Hi, my name is Eric, and one of my most useful study tips is listening to classical music. I don't listen to music that much while I'm studying because it can be distracting, but listening to it right before is actually very beneficial. There are studies and research that show that this certain Mozart effect, where listening to classical music before you study can provide short-term improvements of certain mental tasks that can help you in memorizing, keeping information in your head. So I would definitely recommend that as a study tip.
Hi, I'm Teresa.
And I'm Abby.
And we're going to give some helpful tips for studying as a group or with a partner. So some helpful tips or qualities you should look for in a study buddy, we like to call, is someone who is productive,
reliable,
focused,
dedicated,
intelligent, for lack of a better term.
and you want to make sure it's not someone that you're going to spend the whole time gossiping with or focusing on other things.
And I know for Abby and I, whenever we get together, the first thing we do is turn off our phones and put it somewhere that will not distract us from the work. So we're currently studying for AP Stats, and we always find it helpful to make sure to ask each other questions in order to keep, informed and see what
you know what's going on.
Exactly, and make sure that we're each bringing something to the table. I hope that helped.
Hi, my name is John, and I have a little trick for note-taking. If you split it in half, called Cornell Notes, you'll be able to take whatever notes you need to at home, and then in class you can insert whatever relevant information you have into your notes.
Hi, I'm Anna, and when I study, I like to write down all the major points because writing stuff down helps me remember things a lot better.
Hi, my name is Gaga, and I have a special tip for you for note-taking in class. So, when you have a major history test on chapters of material, 60, 50 pages, it could be very stressful cramming all of that into one night. So what I have to do is that I take two sets of notes. One set I take in class as my teacher is speaking and teaching, and then you jot down those notes. And then the second set of notes I take over a period of a week, and each day I take notes on maybe 5 or 10 pages of reading material. And then the night before the test, I study all of those notes, and it usually works out very well.
Hi, my name is Anna Hernandez. I'm a senior, and some of my studying tips are to just take really good notes in class in the first place, so then that way you learn the stuff in class and then you have good reference to go back and you're able to study from what you've already done in class. So if you take really comprehensive notes, listen to the teacher, write everything down, you can be able to go back and study for the test already knowing the material and then have a really good guide to study from.
Hi, I'm Maddie, and my tip for studying is to buy a second book on Amazon, and they're max of $15, and then you can have a copy at school and a copy at home, so you can use as much time as you have to do whatever you need to do for school.
Hi, my name is Ben, and my study tip is to use the online resources that can be found on most textbooks. Now, most of the time people overlook this because it's usually just a small little link to a website. And this can actually be really helpful because I know last year in my AP class I was able to find sample outlines, practice tests, and quizzes, and a lot of those same type of questions were used on the tests and quizzes. So it's really just an easy way to help you study, and it's a little bit easier because most people like using the internet. So just give it a try, and I'm sure it'll help you.
Hi, my name is Nancy, and I have a studying tip for classes that involve a lot of reading. When my teachers give me a reading assignment, I tend to read the book twice. And that may seem a little counterintuitive, but I find that it helps if I skim the first time around and then actually read and focus the second time around. That helped me concentrate a lot better, and something that I suggest that you do.
Hi, my name is Lucy, and how I study for English is by purchasing the books that we use in school, and I will write in them. Clearly you should not be writing in the books that you borrow from school. That is not legal. And basically what I do is I will use different colored post-its to indicate certain characters and certain ideas and themes and symbols, motifs, all those literary terms. And as you can see, there's a bunch of these colored post-its, and I actually sort of ran out of post-its, so that's why it starts changing colors. But inside I also will highlight certain key ideas as well as underline really, really cool quotes that I like. So.
Hi, my name is Carly, and my study tip is to not cram the night before a test, but to instead give yourself a few nights to study so that you have time to process and review the information.
Hi, my name is Tracy. My study tip is to color code everything that you do. It helps you get organized and makes studying fun.
Hi, my name is Ramon, and my study tip is to make flashcards because it helps you remember things simply. And if you have a smartphone, have a folder dedicated to school. There's a flashcard app, there's dictionary and stuff like that.
Hello, I'm Sarah, and my study habit is I like to write in books that teachers typically give you or that you own, for then when you reread it, you can actually look at what you were thinking and know definitions of hard words that may come up on a test.
Hi, my name is Leo, and I have a tip about motivation. So I say what you have to do is set a long-term goal for yourself in order to keep motivated. So for me, it's a career that I love doing every day. That's what I strive for. And I know high school may seem tough at times. There's so many hardships that you go through, whether it be with classes, social life, or academics. For me, it was math class. I dreaded going to there. But I kept at it. It builds work ethic, and that work ethic will get you through college and then towards what you want to do afterwards with your life. It's good. Strive for it. Don't give up.